I said, everybody pull out your phone real quick and turn the camera on. Then the next slide was a QR code. Just scan that and click the link that pops up. Everybody scanned it. It opens up Facebook. And I said, now click like. And look at that. Now we got 50 more followers just like that. Hey there, this is Matthew Jennings, and on this episode of Peachjar Extra Credit, I am here with Monica Lopez from the Pasadena Education Foundation, and we are here to share some creative ways you can connect with your local real estate agents. So if that's something you're interested in, and you've been trying to figure out what is that really creative, unique thing you can do, we have a really great idea for you that we're going to talk about today. So stay tuned. Monica, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me here this morning at this gorgeous middle school here in Pasadena. Let's just start off with, please tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what your role here is in Pasadena.
Well, I'm the marketing director for the Educational Foundation that supports the Pasadena Unified School District. We support through fundraising, through community engagement, and through programs. So we raise between $12 and $15 million a year for the district.
That's great.
And we run a lot of opportunities and ways and programs for our community to get involved in our schools and to see our schools in new ways that they may not have.
That's awesome. So just a little role that you play here in the Pasadena Unified School District. That's pretty incredible. That's a lot of money that you're raising every year for the students and staff here in the community, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for all the work that you do. It's critical. And we actually, I've seen some of the results of the work that you've done throughout the district over the years, which is really cool. So hats off to all the work and the foundational support just across the country that our foundations provide to districts nationwide, which is really fantastic. So again, I know you're super busy. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me here today. I want to talk a little bit about something that was, you had sparked a thought years ago. It was a presentation that I saw at CalSPRA. You know, when you go to those conferences, my goal always in those sessions is like, what is that nugget I'm going to walk away with? And you had, it was like, it wasn't part of the presentation. It was like the last slide or the second to last slide. And you're like, and also I'm working on this realtor certification course thing. Mm-hmm. We have our first one scheduled. Don't know how it's going to turn out yet. And they're like, I'm Monica, I'm out. If you have any questions, let me know. And I remember turning to Nicole Pichardo in that moment, and both of us light bulbs went off. We're like, that's brilliant. So fast forward, I don't know, it was like 5-6 years later. It was quite a while later. I was sitting in a school district and the thought popped up in my head for a reason that I'll talk a little bit about more here in a moment. But I remembered that presentation and that gold nugget, and I was like, I got to get a hold of Monica. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience there and what brought you to hosting your first ever, because it's kind of a brave thing. I got to be honest, like really stepping out there, planning something like that, not knowing how it's going to turn out. So I'd love to hear a little bit about why you felt a certification course, bringing in your realtors was of value. What brought you to that moment?
Well, we'd created this realty initiative to really connect with our local realtors. Realtors are often your first line of the people speaking for your schools, into new people coming in, people moving around. And we found that our realtors in our community had an outdated story that they were telling. A lot of things have changed in our schools. Our community has changed a lot, and they didn't have best information. Mm-hmm. And old stories were continuing to be told. So we worked on ways to get better information to them, and we really worked with them, asking them, what do you need? What do you need? How can we help you? What do you want? And we brought more realtors onto our board. And one of our board members, who's a realtor, a very prominent one in our community, he said, realtors really like certifications. They like to be experts, and it helps their business, and to understand that their business, would be something that we could help them with, where they could stand out by having a certification.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I remember it was like literally 5 or 6 years later. It feels like anyway. Time goes so fast. So I reached out to Monica because for me, I landed in a district and I found out that there were a lot of the old stories still being told. Things that the district had long moved on from, moved past of. There was even talk of how we had gotten rid of the arts and how we weren't providing music and there was a complete lack of knowledge around STEM and the technology we had available to us in the classrooms. And it became really evident to me once when my wife and I were on a tour of a home. We were looking at homes in the area and looking to buy. And the realtor at that time, the real estate agent at that time, was really quick to kind of push me to a magnet school down the street for a private school. And I worked at the district at that time, and I thought, well, that really hurts. That my local school that I work for isn't top of mind. And so that really, for me, put me back at a place at my desk, and I'm like, well, what can I do about this? And then I remembered. And so I called Monica or emailed you or something. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, that realtor thing you mentioned, did you do that? How'd that turn out? And amazing. Thank you to you. Amazing. I mean, just within minutes. Yes, it was great. I'd be happy to share anything with you. And then I had a Google Drive folder of all kinds of really great stuff in there. It really helped me. I'd love to talk through a little bit about what your experience was hosting that for the first time. Anybody listening that wants to do this, I think will probably go through some of the same bumps in the road or some of the same concerns. And I'd love to share a little bit about the first time we hosted it in my school district. And so anybody there that might be uncomfortable with it can live through some of our discomfort and hopefully have that courage to do that. So I just want to say right out the gate, I found it insanely beneficial. Would you echo that?
I would absolutely echo that.
And our real estate agents that were present found it insanely beneficial. In fact, for us at least, before it was even done, they asked to schedule the second one.
Yeah.
So it's really what we're going to share with you today is a really great tactic to lean into and leverage something that they want anyway, and it works for both parties. So talk to me a little bit about your first time hosting this event. What were some of the trials and tribulations? What were some of the things that you had to figure out? And just kind of, what are some of the top of mind things that come to you that, somebody was going to have to work through to host an event like this?
Well, for us, the first thing we did is we connected with our local realty association. So the Pasadena Foothills Association of Realtors became our partner. So we could work it into their engagement curriculum that they were running. So they actually were the hosts of it and helped us market it into their community. So it helped us say that it's not just us that wants you to know this story, but your own association wants you to know this story. Your own association wants you to be better prepared to speak to potential parents in the community. So that really, really helped us. We also looked very carefully at who was going to be the speaker, what schools, what do we want as a certification? We really wanted to make it an official certification. So there's an official seal that you could put on your website, that you get a certificate. It's done from the association. So you can really market this as a tool that you have and expertise that you have as a realtor, rather than just this was a fun half day class. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And we ended up kind of following down the same path. Mm-hmm. First thing we did was I reached out to the NSDCAR, North San Diego County Association of Realtors. It was a tough one. I had to memorize that back then. But the first thing we did was reach out to NSDCAR, and I just inquired. I said, hey, I'd really love to set up a half a day where local real estate agents can come in, learn more about our school district, our programs, our services, and our offerings. And I wrote the goal is that they leave equipped to they'll be better able to sell homes around the local neighborhood community schools. And it got a pretty immediate response at that time. And they said, okay, this sounds great. We'd love to learn more about this. Let's have you meet with our local government agency chairperson. And so they had a chairperson that was in charge of meeting with educational organizations or other government agencies. And so we went out to lunch with that gentleman. I kind of pitched an idea. And I said, I don't know that it's been done anywhere else other than up in Pasadena. So I don't really have a lot to model this from, but this is what they did. This is what I'm thinking. And we talked through a lot of the same strategy. And he said, let me take it back to the board, get back to you. And so it was a couple of weeks that went by and I thought, wow, that didn't hit or something, and it was because they had to wait around for a board meeting and get back together and discuss it. And eventually I got the email to come back in. And so we went in. And it was me and my communication specialist at the time and in a boardroom at NSDCAR and all of their board members there. So a little scary. And I'm going in, and if I have one tip, it would be going a little bit better prepared than I am, or I was at that time. I tend to do really well just shooting from the hip. So I didn't really have anything to present to them. I had a few vittles from our school district to leave them just as trinkets. But I didn't have a presentation or anything. I just talked through, this is what I want to do. I want you to manage the registrations. I want it to be an actual certification. We'll develop a seal that they can put on their website, that they can put in their email signature. We'd like them to leave with a certificate from your association that they're certified in the local school district here. And you can charge for it, thinking 20, 30 bucks. I think it ended up being about 40 bucks. That's okay if you want to keep that. If we could talk about like providing lunch together, that would be great. I'll work on some additional sponsorships. And we just kind of pitched that. And then after we go through a presentation, I talk to them all about our programs and our services and our initiatives and the great things happening in our classrooms and our schools. We'll take them on a tour if they want, so they can go see the technology and the things that are being utilized in the classrooms. And it felt really good in the room, but it did take them a couple of days to get back to me. Like, we had to do a little research. We called up to Pasadena, and as it turns out, that association up there absolutely says this is an invaluable program, and you have to do it. So how do we get started? And that was it. And so it was really great. They did handle all the registrations like you had mentioned. I told them I'd do all the heavy lifting on our end to develop materials for marketing, to get the words out in our community. They helped me with, getting the mayor and city councils and stuff like that. And we did have council members show up. We had the mayor show up, spoke really briefly. Our board members, we had a really great turnout. It was sold out. And in fact, before we even hosted the first one, they asked to schedule the second one. And our first one was the end of February of 2020. And then in March of 2020, we shut down in-person instruction and in-person things for the world for a hot minute. So we never did get to host that second one before I left the school district. They have since hosted it very successfully as well. So I want to talk through now just a few of the things that you learned along the ways. I think our experience was very similar in that you mentioned be really careful on who you have speak. So if your superintendent's really great, or maybe you and your superintendent just know they're not the greatest public speaker, it's not something they like, right? Well, then maybe, is that an associate soup? Is that a board member? But be really critical of who you have to speak. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of the day of, being really critical on where the event's going to be held, really curate what their experience is going to look like and what they're going to see. We were also able to partner with our local credit union, who gave us some money, helped us with snacks and treats and things like that. And they actually had a booth outside. So it was a good opportunity for them to market. So let's just talk about some of the nitty gritty, because you've done it a couple of times now.
Like 5.
5. That's great. So let's just talk about some of those nitty gritty details that you think people really need to pay closer attention to as they prepare for something like this.
I think you mentioned 2. Tour. There has to be a tour. You have to get them on a campus and they have to see it because they need those wow moments. They need to have created their own things that now they can tell because they're personal stories now. Instead of it being something that they read or something they heard from somebody else, it's like, wow, I saw this amazing instruction happening that I didn't know were behind those doors I've never even been behind. So the tour is huge, but you got to curate the tour. You have to know your campus well. You have to know your principal well. Is your principal good at leading tours? Is your principal not good at leading tours? Are you going to the right classes? Pay attention to the bell schedule. Are they suddenly going to be in a tour and the hallways are going to be filled with kids? What are you showing them, and how are you showing them? We spend a lot of time talking about being asset-minded when they walk onto the campus so that they have a vision of what they're looking for. If they come in and they're looking for a place where something needs to be painted, if that's in their head, they're going to find it.
Yeah.
So reframing it for them that we want you to look for what's good. And it really does help. And then being able to have them come back and reflect on it afterwards. So we bring them back into the room and have open conversation. And they really get to tell their own stories.
That's beautiful. So you said something when we were talking about it earlier too, kind of putting your mind in their brain. Think like a realtor, which you just mentioned. If they're looking for something, they're going to find it because they're also used to walking spaces. That's what they do for a living, is walk through spaces and find the pros and the cons. So you got to be really careful.
Curb appeal,
which takes me to a really big point. One of the things I leaned on my M&O team was really strongly, this place needs to look immaculate. I want, the gum's got to be off the sidewalks and the entryways, the bushes, the shrubs, the grass, like everything has to look really gorgeous. And of course, being a really phenomenal team that they are, they took that above and beyond. And they're out there washing buildings down and doing windows and everything else. And it was just amazing. But really pay attention to those finer details and lean into the support of your team.
Go there the day before, because if you went there 2 weeks before, you don't know. I mean, we were there, myself and my team, we pulled weeds and bought new plants for the planters in the front because this is their very first second that they're seeing it. And you don't, it's that first moment.
Yes.
And it's really hard to take that back. You want them to walk in and say, wow, this is nice. And then everything else that they see moving forward, everything isn't going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. This is a public school district, particularly in our community. It's socioeconomically diverse. We're not telling a not truth. We are showing them what we really believe in.
That's so true. And creating those wow moments you mentioned, really be mindful of the route that you take and what you're showing, and making sure that, you don't have a leader of that tour that might go off script and like, oh, let's just peek in here. Like, no, this is scripted. We're going to keep this to the point, because it is really important that you're being mindful of their time as well. So our event, I think, was like 4 hours, which is that half day kind of mark. We did a lunch, and they're also, they need to get on. They need to be doing other stuff. So you're curating it for a couple of reasons. I remember the kind of the shock and awe of, I don't know if you know what an anatomage table is, but it's a really high definition anatomy table where you can practice dissections and all of that. It's a bleeding edge tool that hospitals and doctors use to mimic a surgery before they actually go do it in real life. And our students have that. And so everybody walking in was like, that's just insane. We're like, yeah, they're using the same technology that they're going to see in college, that they're going to see in their careers. And that message we try to drive home at every level of our STEM and arts, that these students have access to actual tools used in the market, and they're learning at the highest of levels that we can provide. And that was surprising to the real estate agents as they went through the tour.
And I guarantee you they retold that story.
That's what's beautiful.
They left and they told their other realtors. They said, you can't believe this table.
Yeah.
Like, this was the coolest thing of everything, and the kids had it, It's true,
which is what this is all about. And it should be said, there's a really good disclaimer here that I maybe should have led with, but real estate agents are not allowed to steer you to or away from a school or a district. There's a law on that. But what they can do if somebody, because on a flyer for a home listing, one of the first bullet points on there is what school district it's in. That's going to be top of mind for any parent that's looking into moving into your district. And they're going to ask, hey, how is the local school? Well, you know what? I could share some resources with you that the district provided me. I'm actually certified in the local district. They're doing a lot of really great things. I think you should do some of the research there. And I know that the principal would love to meet you. And so reach out to that principal of XYZ school. They would take you on a tour. And that's true I've never met a principal that's not like, send me a prospective family. I would love to show them around.
Yeah, we provide a full tour schedule and resources of ambassadors for each school. You can reach out to principal information and actually a full dedicated web landing page of all the information from the school district's website to where are magnet schools, where is this, but distilled into one page so they don't have to hunt and peck in the district's website. This is the things that you've got a one-stop shop resource.
That's so cool. So we've talked through the why a little bit, which the why really is helping your real estate agents sell more homes to families around your local school district and your local community schools. Really getting them up to speed so they can help share that narrative with colleagues and coworkers and everyone else involved, so that it's a fresh perspective on what your district is doing and the services you're providing. We talked a little bit about some of the tips and tricks we really have people focus on doing this the first time, planning the route, make sure the location is on point, selecting that location very carefully, selecting your speakers very carefully. Let's talk then about the presentation itself. What are we actually showing them during that time that we have a captive audience?
I did want to say food.
Food.
They
love food.
They love food.
Yeah, but who doesn't?
Right. So you mentioned food, and food is important. You did lunch, we did breakfast, but food. You know, if they know that lunch and breakfast is included,
it will get them there. Yeah. And like I said, they charged, I think it was $40 for the event, 35 or $40, and we were sold out very quickly. And food was one of the things mentioned on the flyer. I will link to, in the description of this video, some of the resources that we're talking about here so that you could see what some of the invites look like, what some of the presentations look like, that kind of thing. So feel free to build off of that. You can have that. Monica was so kind to share those resources with me. We'll be able to pass those along so that you can see those as well. But yeah, food's a big one. That certification's a big one.
You talked about price. And I think price is important.
Yeah.
Our opinion is that if you make it free, it doesn't have a perceived value. The certification should have value, and so we worked with our association to say what is in line with what you currently charge.
There you go.
So that this is not an outlier. It's not one of the usually expensive ones that have to do with certifications on buildings and things like that. But from a level that was accurate to the community. And but I thoroughly believe don't make it free.
That's awesome. That's a good tip, and really good tip too. Just plan that cost. Let your association work that out about what they would typically charge for something like this, which is why I don't really know the fee, because I wasn't charging it. I wasn't responsible for it, and that was on them. So that's great. So let's talk about the presentation itself. So I was really proud of the presentation that we did. We actually, thanks to all of your help, I did win an award through CalSPRA on that. So I feel like that went really well. Talk to me about some of the things that you're sharing with them as they're in the room with you.
We do an overview of some of the higher level things in our district because we are an open enrollment district. So getting people to understand that. So we have magnet schools, we have dual language schools, we have a variety of options. And so we needed them to understand all of these high points that they might not know of and how those things worked. We also talk a lot about our community. We are socioeconomically diverse, and a little bit about our history. And our instructor, she's a professor at Pepperdine, who this is her area. So she also talks about Zillow and about how Zillow uses connecting Zillow to great schools, and how these rankings don't really mean anything. And that was really an important piece because it connected with them immediately.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that you didn't cover there may be just a couple of things I'll just point out there. We made sure they understood who our board was. We made sure they understood who our leadership team was. Did provide opportunity there for our superintendent to speak and share her vision because she was still a newer superintendent in the district at that time. And she had a really just incredible vision to support students and staff and the community district-wide. And so that was really great to give her that opportunity. And we got a lot of love for that too. In fact, we had a lot of agents come up to us after the presentation and just say, it's really great to meet you and your team and see that you love the profession and the students so much. So obviously that warmth came across, which is phenomenal. Gave us a lot of really good stuff. One kind of trick I threw in there was I told the agents in the room, one of the best things you can do to stay current, I said, you are going to leave here with a Google Drive link. It's going to take you to a one-pager. And so I had each one of our schools put together a one-pager. So it's going to take you to a one-pager for each school. So if you are selling a school or a home around a particular school and somebody asks you about it, you can say, I have a one-pager I'd be happy to share with you to learn more. Definitely reach out to the school directly. In addition to that Google Drive link, one of the best ways to stay in touch with what we have going on is our social media feeds. Right. And I said, actually, let's just do a little experiment. I kind of had fun with it. I said, everybody pull out your phone real quick and turn the camera on. And then the next slide was a QR code. Just scan that and click the link that pops up. Everybody scanned it. It opens up Facebook. And I said, now click like. and look at that. Now we got 50 more followers just like that. And so I did that with Twitter and Facebook. And actually, we went through our YouTube channel. We did several of our social media feeds. And I told him we were producing at that time one video every single week that just highlighted all the cool stuff that was happening that week. So I said, that's really it takes you 1 minute every week. Just hit that YouTube subscribe link, and then you will see every single week all the cool things that we're doing, the awards our kiddos are winning, the amazing things our staff is accomplishing. And with that, I kind of made it personal. I said, and also don't be afraid to get in there and like stuff, to comment on things, to interact. And I said, imagine the power of people knowing you're a real estate agent in this space, supporting your local school district. You're getting in there in the comments, liking stuff, loving stuff, maybe even resharing stuff. Now, when they need to sell a home, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to that name that they've seen participating in their child's world in a positive way. And so it was like the light bulbs kind of went off. You're like, yeah, let me see that QR code again. Hang on real quick, So it was good. So those are kind of the only add-ons I would say. We did cover our athletics. We did cover, our arts really heavily. Obviously STEM really heavily. We showed that. We had videos. We had the kids. Actually, in the morning, when everybody arrived, we had students outside and it was a big foyer of a theater. We had them demoing like all the cool things they were doing. So there was art stuff out there and projects and pottery. There was the anatomage table out there. We had coffee and things that Mission Federal helped us provide. And so when everybody went into the room, we had a nice branded pad of paper for them, a district branded pen so they could take notes.
Yes.
We built our presentation in Canva, so it was really visual and beautiful. And we limited it to just me speaking, which obviously I'm having trouble speaking. So I don't know if that was the best decision. But we did have introductions from our mayor, our superintendent, some other really key players. Obviously, include their board members, let their board president speak, or if they feel that somebody more important is on the board needs to be speaking, they need to have time to address their membership. We didn't provide actually in the agenda a specific opportunity for them to network, but we heard a lot that was important for them to have that time. So in the morning, there was time for them to mill around, get coffee, look at what the students are doing and network. And then after lunch and during lunch, there was that space as well. It kind of happened more organic. But we found out that was actually kind of an important thing to them. Right. Do you provide any official?
What we found is that they'll stay.
Okay.
That because we're not providing lunch,
yeah.
So we provide a breakfast, and at the end we provide. There's still time built in where they can kind of hang out, and the ones that really need to leave,
yeah, they
leave.
Yeah.
But when no one's leaving your party, you've done a good job, and so they stay, true. Right? And if they're staying and they're talking to each other and they're really communicating with you, and they're remember they're members of your community.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my community. My kids went to the schools I was a parent for 18 years in this district. I know this.
Yeah.
You can talk to me. I'm a resource. These are other resources. And we're working on this collectively.
That's so great. Well, I don't really have anything else that I specifically want to cover other than to say it is really fantastic. I'm sure you've heard this echoed several times now. We had several of the attendees there that day just say, I had no idea you were doing these things. And that made all of the effort worth it. Even if just one person walks away like, I had no idea this was happening. So it is really incredible. So if you haven't yet figured out how to connect with your local real estate agents at a deeper level, a certification course like this that you help run through a partnership with your local realtors association is invaluable. I can't state it enough.
We've done them for 5 years now. We have 125 certified realtors.
That's cool.
And a directory of them. So we can publicize a directory.
Tip.
So you can say, oh, you're looking for a realtor who knows about the schools? Here they are. So we continue to do advertising for them in our process.
That's a really good tip. So is that on a website somewhere?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, if you're looking for a great agent, we have a list. That's really nice. Okay, well, any last parting words of wisdom or anything we haven't talked about that you'd want to share?
Just that it doesn't have to be done with your realty association. That's what worked for us. But if they're not there or you don't have a relationship with them, try it anyway. Mm-hmm. Try it anyway. That I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference in the narrative. But if you have a narrative that needs to be changed, these are influencers in your community. New incoming people, but also they often live in your community. Mm-hmm. And you really want them to have fresh, engaging, real stories to tell. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it wasn't about, and I made it clear to my team, it wasn't about indoctrinating our local agents into we're going to force you to love our district or brainwash you or anything. Right. No, it was really, let's bring you in and show you what is actually taking place on the daily basis. And the change just happened organically because they had no idea these things were going on. It's key to not treat it like it's enrollment. Yeah. This is not a way to boost your enrollment. No. This is, our district, only 55% of our community attends our public schools.
Yeah.
So we aren't saying choose public, choose private. We just want you to know it is a community building, connecting tool.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it might have a positive impact on enrollment. You might get one family out of doing this. You might get multiple.
It is an enrollment tool, but if you treat it, if you talk to them like you're trying to enroll them in your
yes.
That's the wrong approach.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's perfect. Yeah. So measuring the ROI on that might be tricky because that really isn't what you're out there to do. Yeah, it is going to have a positive impact through so many other areas beyond enrollment, which is awesome. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk through this with me today. I know I get asked a lot of questions about it. I'm sure you probably field a lot of questions about it. So if you're out there and you have questions and you're still not sure about taking that first step, hit up either one of us.
Absolutely.
I know we're absolutely happy to share what trials and tribulations we went through, any hurdles. I'd be happy to work through the whole thing with you. I'm sure Monica would as well, and share any resources that we have. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So if you like this, be sure to like, share, comment, follow for more. Don't be afraid to get in there in the comments and ask any questions you might have. I know the two of us will jump in there. We'll be happy to answer any of those. You're welcome to reach out to us directly as well. And be sure to check out the resources that we're going to be linking in the description for you. That's all we got for now. Thanks so much for sticking around. We'll see you.
Thank you.